Welcome to an Intimate Chat with Retailers Part 6. This webinar today is a continuation of our very popular series whereby Ellen Lewis of the Lingerie Brief speaks with retailers across the USA and Canada on their successes, struggles, and how they are reinventing themselves to stay relevant. At Curve, we have the utmost respect for the risks independent retailers take and the challenges they face. We recognize the vital role each one has in their communities. Our goal is to support the dreams of small retailers by sharing information and ideas in our Intimate Chat webinars. We hope the stories today will inspire and motivate you to succeed. I'm pleased to introduce you to Ellen Lewis, our moderator. If you don't know Ellen already, she is a journalist, writer, and owner of the Lingerie Briefs. Intimacy has been the focus of her entire career. Previously, she had worked as a buyer, merchandiser, and in product development. Her love of the written word inspired her to create her blog, The Lingerie Briefs. Joining Ellen today is Carla Mackey of Uplift Intimate Apparel in Carmel, Indiana. Carla took a 40-year hiatus in Virginia Beach, Virginia, where she spent 12 years serving the community. She returned back to Indiana, her birthplace, to follow her passion and open her store, Uplift Intimate Apparel. Her store mission is to spread the word about the importance of a properly fitted bra and the solutions available to be comfortable. Next is Patricia Naylor of Rumor in San Diego, California. Patricia never expected to be the owner of a lingerie boutique. She is a U.S. Air Force veteran who joined the military at 17, served as a Russian linguist for 4 years before leaving the military to start a family. The idea to open a lingerie boutique was born of her own needs and desires to do something that could help other women. Her experiences of trying to find well-fitting lingerie had fallen flat, and she thought something was wrong with her body. After speaking with friends and family, she found that many women felt the same way. Patricia realized there was an opportunity to change the narrative by opening Rumor Lingerie to help women realize the beauty that lies within each of them. Next is Molly Hopkins of Lingerie in Kennesaw, Georgia. You probably know Molly and her partner, Cynthia Decker, as the stars of Lifetime's Double Divas. They are self-proclaimed country girls with a true talent for fitting, design, and helping women one breast at a time. Both women jumped into the lingerie and bra fitting industry back in 2006 with the idea for a custom-fit lingerie and bra boutique. They opened Lingerie Lingerie to help women feel confident and sexy with the goal to assist even the biggest breasted customer in finding the perfect bra. In addition to running their store, Molly and Cynthia frequently appear on TLSC's spin-off and commentary show, 90 Day Finance Pillow Talk. We also have Dow Hickman of Top Drawer Lingerie in Houston, Texas. Top Drawer Lingerie was established in 1983, and in the mid-1990s, Dow's father bought the business with the intention of creating a premier bra-fitting boutique carrying the world's finest lingerie, sleepwear, swimwear, and accessories. It's truly a family affair. After graduating law school and deciding against becoming an attorney, Dow joined the family business in 2005. Since that time, Top Drawer has won numerous industry awards. We also need to commend them for their amazing philanthropic and charity work. After Hurricane Harvey, they donated $200,000 worth of new bras to more than 5,000 people in the aftermath of the storm, which is truly awe-inspiring. Next is Nanette Parsons of Best Rack Around in Leesburg, Virginia. Nanette opened Best Rack Around in November of 2013 with the primary objective to promote body positivity and to focus on helping fit women who had been through breast cancer. Nanette derives much joy from teaching breast health, supporting young girls at their first fitting, and assisting women to find the correct fit. It's what really fuels her passion. Nanette has the only boutique in the Northern Virginia area that provides pre- and post-surgical and mastectomy fittings. She continues to be very involved in community outreach and working with the local breast and health cancer organizations. Lastly, we have Lindsay Ryan of Bellflower in Seattle, Washington. Lindsay's love of the lingerie business began at a very early age. Her first job at 15 was in a small lingerie boutique in Kirkland, Washington. She continued in the business by working as a sales associate and visual merchandiser at Bellflower and ended up purchasing the store from its original founder in 2012. 8 years later, in December 2020, she opened a second Bellflower location in Bellevue, Washington. When not running her lingerie stores, Lindsay works as an interior designer in her second business, Lindsay Renan Design. Plus, she has the best job as a mom to her son, Charlie, who is 16 months old. Welcome, everyone. And Ellen, I'll let you take the mic now.
Hi, everybody. This is Ellen. I am the editor and publisher of Lingerie Briefs. I'm going to begin this webinar, which is our 6th chat with specialty stores, with just a few points gleaned in private conversations with the participants. First, optimism for the future threads most of the conversations. Second, frustration with the inability to actually touch and feel product abounds everywhere. And third, although essential products have kept the stores afloat, the focus on sexy lingerie, even for stores that don't usually concentrate here, is a clear factor. Most importantly, the encouragement that I have received from every store to whom I have spoken, that the lingerie community is more than ever important to their daily lives. This is a very unique industry, and sharing experiences adds to a sense of security. And just want to add to this little intro, the fact that I have had a rare opportunity to speak at length with most of the buyers that I have interviewed, in fact, all of them. And it has given me it's been a real silver lining in this process. So I am going to begin this conversation with Dow. Dow, your store, which is Top Drawer in Houston, Texas, has been in business since 1983. I know that you personally joined the team 15 years ago, and that your dad bought the store or got involved with the store in the 90s. We spoke about several initiatives and changes that have occurred as a result of the pandemic. But what I found so fascinating, what I find so fascinating about our discussion was how you used the numbers to shift gears, the importance of technology to amp up your efficiency, and how you shifted from ads to micro-targeting, that's your word, on social media. You went from a negative 73% business in mid-April to finish the year around 20% down, and please correct me if I am wrong. Your optimism is encouraging. As you said to me, following the Spanish flu in 1917 came the Roaring '20s. I have to tell you, I've used that metaphor all week. Can you elaborate a bit on where Top Drawer is right now?
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be on this panel with all of you. I know all of you by name. Some I've seen on TV, some I've actually been in your store, like Bella Flor. My wife's from Seattle, so I've stopped in there before. It's a beautiful place. Top Drawer. So we started around February of last year. I recall getting back from New York. We were putting in our orders, and we had just come off our best year ever, and our inventory amounts were huge. It just was astronomical. It was probably bigger than it needed to be, but when times are good, it's easy to buy a little more than you need because you're going to make the sales, and it's all going to work out in the end. Well, all of a sudden, as everyone here knows, the bottom dropped out, and we were stuck with a lot of inventory and hardly any revenue because we had no customers coming in the store, and it looked like there was going to be a shutdown from our local government. We had spent the last several years building out our infrastructure of our online sales, so we had that to rely on a little bit, and we could technically classify at least the online portion as an essential worker business because we were doing mail outs. And so when we did have to close, we had to rely strictly on online sales. And we started looking at all this inventory we had and the very little amount of money that was coming in. We said, we've got to liquidate inventory. We've got to convert some of these bras to cash. And the way we did that is we put everything on sale, and we never put everything on sale, but we did. We put everything on sale. I think it was 20 or 25% off. And our existing customers, our longtime customers, knew a good deal when they saw it. because they jumped on board, and really the internet business and doing some private clienteling during the month of March and April really helped. So we started selling off our inventory. We weren't making any money, but we were generating cash, which is what saved us throughout the thing. And all this time, we've kind of been packing a little bit of it away, in knowing that eventually we'd have to go back and add some new inventory. So we finally got down just recently over Christmas. We leveled our inventory out to where it bottomed out just recently, and it was half of what it was at the beginning of the pandemic. And so it's time to start adding to it. So we've used this opportunity to really kind of dig in to the numbers and review our replenishable products to find out where we have holes in our inventory, bring in new styles that we need, and we're really using it as a good opportunity to reorganize and bring in new products that we've tried before, but for some reason or another we never got around to bringing it on full time. So we've been placing huge orders lately, I shudder to see the bills in 30 days, but we need the product and it's coming in, because I am optimistic that things are going to get better.
Dow, may I ask you a question in terms of what you're saying? Based on we did have a little bit of a conversation about this. Has there been a shift in your vendor profile through this process? Because this seems to be.
Yes. I would say people were not willing to spend as much for a bra after than before. And so a lot of our really, really high-end vendors, we weren't selling as much of, particularly Empreinte, Lee Charmel, a few of the really more pricey vendors. We just, the customer wasn't there. Oddly enough, it seems as though that customer who we've had for several years now just hasn't made it back in yet. I think maybe they have enough means to hang out at home and wait this thing out. What we do see is we see a lot of people coming in who are new to us and that we've never had before. We've also had the benefit of or good luck in that we are really the last lingerie store in town, the last boutique. There have been, in the last 12 months or so, there's been 2 or 3 other stores, 3 that have closed, and they so that we're really the last ones left, with the exception of the department stores that sell bras. But my understanding is they have some of their own rules about trying bras on in the store, or not being allowed to have people in the store or in the fitting rooms helping people get fit. So we have noticed an influx of new customers. Looking forward to the old customers returning again, the repeat customers, and I think that'll happen. Eventually we will reap the benefits of replenishing our inventory, going really deep in several of the drawers. The Elomi customer seems to be one of our fastest growing brands at the moment, and it has been for a while, particularly throughout this pandemic. We just get a lot of customers that are coming in that used to be serviced at other places, and now they're making the trip to come see us, even if it's a 30-minute drive for them.
But you're feeling comfortable with your baseline brand, I should call them baseline, your better brands that were your bread and butter before, and you feel confident that they'll stay, that's going to be no problem when the Roaring 20s occurs.
I believe so. We are located in the high-end outdoor shopping center in Houston, and we're where you would want to be to capture that customer. So
I also found fascinating, and it may be true the other stores, it just didn't come up, just because I'm very interested in the balance of numbers and creativity in a retail business. An old boss of mine used to call it a mix of Picasso and Einstein in order to run it correctly. Very interested in some of this technical advancements you have. Maybe everybody else has it, but the inventory, the way you take inventory, you might want to mention that to the group. I know it's a costly investment and everything costs money, but it does save time and really does make a difference in terms of analyzing your business. So could you just quick tell the group about?
Yeah, for over 10 years now, I've been looking into RFID technology. And in fact, the first retail store in America was an American Apparel in New York City. And I remember after market one day going to take a cab there, and they didn't know anything about it, the people who were actually on the ground there. But I knew that they had it. So I've had an interest in this for a long time. The price has been going down and going down and going down. Finally, a few years ago, we did the initial investment, and it really was not that ridiculously expensive. And what RFID is on every single product, there's a little antenna and microchip, and we program that to for that individual product. So it takes us about an hour to count everything in the store, whereas it used to take 10 or 12 hours, and it was everyone, and then it was bring your friend night at Top Drawer. So every employee would bring their friend or their partner, and we'd all do inventory together. Now, one person, two people can do it in about an hour, and so it saves a lot of time, and it's a lot more accurate than counting. Scanning the barcodes the way we used to do it. So it's very accurate. So we do inventory once a month now, which was inconceivable to me before. We would do it we wanted to do it once a year, but realistically we did it about every 18 months because no one liked it. And it was just such a bear to do. And we were going to do one this Friday. I anticipate it'll be done by 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and we'll have a good, accurate count.
Okay, great. And now I am going to go on to the next person, but first I got to find my questions. Okay, it's Carla. You're up. Carla, I know these were mentioned, but I'm going to repeat it. Carla owns Uplift Lingerie in Carmel, Indiana. And I know that you, if I'm correct me, of course, you opened about 3.5 years ago, having moved to Indiana from the East Coast, and you have a huge background in bra fitting. Can't remember which store it was, but you'll tell me. I know that you did many of the things that we have already discussed during these webinars, and primarily staying on the forefront of your customers' mind, working closely with your brands. What really was encouraging to me was that you told me that despite all these challenges, you ended 2020 about 2% down. That's quite an amazing accomplishment. And I know that you did many of the same things, like I said, we discussed, but your description of the give a lift strategy and reaching out to community was different and enlightening, and also underlies some of your DNA about how you feel about the community. So I know you're feeling a little encouraged about entering a better retail climate. Maybe you could elaborate a bit, Carla, if you would. Unmute.
Unmute. So one thing, I just want to make one correction. It's Uplift Intimate Apparel. So
Okay,
it's a little different.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. No worries. But I spent 12 years at the Full Cup in Virginia Beach. So got a lot of great training and learned a lot about the business. I loved helping women, and that's really why I love the intimate apparel industry so much, just like all the rest of us here. It just lights me up when I see women just, light, as I call it, light up like a Christmas tree when we give them the right bra. It's just amazing. For me, my high-end brands have stayed up. My Lise Charmel is, like I sell a lot of that. So Anita and then Lise Charmel. So which is really good. My initiative, Give a Lift, I go in, I ask my clients to bring their gently loved bras to us. Some will bring brand new with tags on them. We make sure they're laundered and clean, and we have shelters, ladies living in shelters come to us, and then we fit them each with 3 bras and give them a light supper, some encouragement. And the community surrounded the group we did last January. Of course, we didn't get to do but one in 2020. And some friends came in to encourage these ladies, for them to know it's just going to be a short time that you're going to be in this position, and we want to give you a lift. So we've had a couple of vendors send us a few things, which has been nice as well. And I just love what we do for them. We're going to go alongside Dove Recovery House here in Indiana, which they rehabilitate women with substance abuse. It's an in-house where they house them for a year and a half and retrain them and help them get through their addiction. So that's going to be our charity of the year this year. We also help women who have been abused or in human trafficking. So for me, it's about my passion for women and what really breaks my heart that fuels me to want to do other things for these organizations.
That's what's so great about our industry. Can you speak a little bit to the brands that have supported you in this endeavor, and also beyond that, same question I asked Al, have you seen a shift in your vendor profile? Are you extending more in people that you already carry? I'm just curious about content also.
Okay. We have seen we haven't really seen a shift in what we carry, because Anita is still my number 1, Lee Charmel is number 2. But we are selling the higher end brands for sure.
Like who, Carl?
Like Lee Charmel, Louisa Brock, Conterell. Those are my top 3 high end brands. We sell some Marley Stecker. I'm not a person to put things on sale. If I put something on sale, it's because I want it to leave my store and it's not going to come back. And that's just my philosophy. So, and I've done okay with that. You know, people seem to respect that. I do other things, like I'll give a gift certificate away, or we've got some people that have come alongside us for the first quarter of the year, and we're giving gifts from them. So like a workout studio is giving a gift card or a free class, you know, if you buy sports bras, things like that. We're just drawing.
I'm not sure this is the reason, but you were closed less long, that's some expression, a shorter period than most of these other stores. I believe like 6 weeks, right? And you were back in business.
Mm-hmm. 6 weeks.
Did you have, I mean, I'm sure you're following protocol and all, but did you have the level of resistance that some of these urban stores had? Or what did you do about fittings? And because it's pretty amazing that you managed to almost make your year.
I know, it really was. We didn't fit anyone during the pandemic when we were closed, but I would have clients call and say, I need a bra, you know, and you have fit me before, same size, and we would do curb service or mail to them. That's how we kind of survived that. Now, it was nothing, you know, for the 6 weeks really, but it's just a few dollars to keep the lights on, as I say. And after the pandemic, that's when the people said, okay, I've got to come in. I got to get out of the house. Can I come in the store? You know, I can't stand to stay in this house anymore. Sure. Yeah.
That's the roaring 20s.
That's right. As he says, I love that saying. So for us, you know, in the beginning, I'm like, you know, nobody knew what was going on. So we were steaming bras after people put them on. And I don't have probably the clientele like y'all have. I don't have 10 or 15 people in my store at a time. You know, I might have 1 or 2 in my store at a time. So I wasn't really worried about a crowd control, but we did have masks at the door and hand sanitizer and wiped everything down. And we still
Okay.
wipe things down and do that.
Okay. Okay, very interesting. Oh, I'm going to move on now to, let me just see who's next on my list. I'm going to move on to Nanette, the best rack around. We're moving back to the East Coast. I have a feeling we'll have a little different conversation here. Nanette, your store in Northern Virginia is a 7.5-year-old store, correct? Am I correct?
Yes, I didn't even
Okay.
realize it till I saw that. Yes.
Okay. And you really focus on personal experience. Again, I think it's a fairly affluent customer. Is this the store that's in a special area, like a historic area that's very sort of people? Okay, that's what you'll talk about it. You told me that your business model is shifting. And I know you've done some very interesting virtual events to cater to this newer model. One that goes beyond basics, perhaps looking for a little bit more of a lingerie pizzazz in their wardrobe. And I want you to talk about that. But the other thing I really want you to bring up, and we're going to elaborate more on that, is your frustration with the market, which is beyond a lot of our control, and not being able to see and touch merchandise is a big part of our conversation. And I think we're going to want to elaborate as a group a little bit, but can you talk about these two things in particular, a little bit about your store for the group?
Yeah, so I'm in Leesburg, Virginia, and I have to tell you, it's funny Carla is on here because Carla was my mentor and the reason I opened, because I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia, and as she knows, like bra fitting, it was impossible where I live now, and there was nowhere to go for young women, you know, to feel good about themselves. And Carla, when she was at Virginia Beach, everyone thought, you know, she was the owner, but it was all about how you felt. And I had a lot of issues when I was younger, you know, growing up in Virginia Beach. Everyone's rail thin. The motto is you can never be too, what is it, too thin or too rich. And that was not my motto, you know, and I just told Carla here we needed a place like that. But, you know, I don't know if y'all know my background, but I was a producer for AOL for 13 years. So I swore I would never do internet sales. I blame my team for half the crap going on online. So we were all about customer service. We don't even call them customers. We call them the bra family or clients. And when I first started, I was in a historic building, which most people know. It was built in, God, I think the 1800s, they put it all together. And we were decupping up in mastectomy. And word got out, we grew really fast. It was just myself. And then I hired someone, and you know, thank God for Anita, the local community who trained us on mastectomy fitting. And we moved. I opened my own building. I tell everyone, if you have the opportunity, start another business, buy your space. Thank God during the pandemic, I was the owner. But the location that we're in now, it's kind of interesting. There's townhouses above me. And when the pandemic hit, very affluent, walkable, you can walk to the historic district, but everyone started closing. So I was the only one, and next to me is like a little personal training gym that closed. There was famous football player wives who owned the boutique next to me on the right. So we did a lot of events together. So I quickly, like you guys, like Dal was saying, I had, I mean, a lot of inventory, and I hate bridal season. We had gotten so much bridal to do an event with Lansdowne and Middleburg Salamander Resort to do a fashion show for swim and bridal. And I was sitting there going, what the hell have you done? My whole team was on because they're high risk. Each one of them has either had cancer, Lyme. You know, I tend to hire people to fill a need. So I just thought to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I swore I'd never go online. And I started calling doctors, trying to figure out if I could even do mastectomy. But I'll tell you all, I was pretty scared, to be truthful. So I got all this equipment in plastic, and you can watch it. It's so embarrassing. It's on the Retail Federation's website, of me worn out setting up my dressing rooms. We went from 4 dressing rooms, 5 people, to me in 1 dressing room. I wouldn't go anymore to the doctors for mastectomy. You know, I wouldn't go to retirement homes. And very quickly, I called a girlfriend. I said, we're going to go online, which is going to be awful, but we're going to start charging a fitting fee. And there's going to be 1 person in here at a time. And I'm going to do virtual. I'm going to create a virtual kit because I'd already done virtual. And I'm going to do virtual shopping with all my old friends who worked at AOL that were men and tell them, now's the time. You've said, how can you help me? You're going to buy a lot of emprunt from your wife's wish list, and you're going to buy whatever we bring in. And, you know, it's kind of a joke because I never asked for help, but I learned very quickly to reach out to the community. But the biggest frustration for me, and it still is, and this is the reason I even wore this so y'all could see. Can you tell what it is? Can you tell colors? Okay. That is my frustration, y'all. From the time it started, because I know a lot of you, like I stalk a few of you, Top Drawer, love your website. Molly knows I'm always asking, you know, what are y'all doing down there? Because I can't fit worth a damn if they're D cup and under. I have to call someone else. But I cannot tell materials. You know, I'm one of those people. I know it when I see it. I know colors. It's just in me. But if I can't see it, feel it, touch it, and it's something new, it was so frustrating because a lot of y'all had carried, I'll give you an example, Casabella. I thought they are not going to pay $75 around here for a bralette. Totally wrong. Took a chance. Called a friend who had a store, said, let me buy one. If it'll hold these girls up, I'm in. And so we brought that in because of brand recognition. We knew everyone was home. But a lot of other things at that time, you couldn't tell. So if you wanted to bring in a lot of lounge, but not brands that we all know, and I don't want to mention them all, but if you wanted to go with some different brands or mid, like Dow was talking about, not necessarily the highest end, you know, some unique designers, different things. I had a very hard time. I actually ended up reaching out to a girl in Australia who had beautiful pieces. And bless her heart, she sent us a whole set of her designs, silks, washable silks, and I ended up ordering them. Now, it got stuck on a barge for 2 months, but because she sent it to me, I could feel it and touch it. And then I was able to relay it to people. Because of the way it hit, I closed for a very short time. I was allowed to be open, and it was only because of the pre and the post-surgical. And I did 1 appointment a day. And when they would come in, they would buy all the loungewear because I went with a lot of materials like bamboo, modal, things very cushiony. I ended up having all these slippers made, and I had funny t-shirts made. And I tell you what, it really saved me. Christmas this year was our best year ever because I had local designers give me their jewelry for consignment. We had my Bath and Body line, I expanded it. And then I went on Fair and reached out to these smaller designers and said, what do you got? Do you have free shipping? Do you have a discount? I'm small, 900, 900, almost 1,000 square foot. And then I put everything up. I put all the swim up. And I eventually brought it out later in the summer because I forgot people around here have pools, themselves. I still have a lot of it put up. Alomi was one of my #1 sellers, always 7 years straight. Empreinte ended up, this is crazy, Empreinte ended up being #1. Montel, because of Raya Montel Flirt, #2. And then, of course, Anita and the others. But it was so interesting to see. It wasn't a small purchase. I had a couple clients come in. I was almost scared to let them go with that much inventory, but I realized they were doing it to be nice and to help. And then I had a couple people local. I made them influencers. I said, come in, I'm going to give you something for free. We're going to call some brands. And they went out and did the work for me. But I will tell you, I'm still frustrated today. I have a stack of orders here to do, and I am petrified because I don't know what it feels like. And I'm sure you all are going through the same thing. You're staying with, like, let's say Cassiopeia or Melodies, what comes to mind. But if you want to branch out and try something new and not the same thing, how do we do it? One thing that Ellen and I talked about, and this is my old department store grandparents, instead of buying like now for next winter, how come we can't do quarterly, right? Because for me, Q2 is my best time of the year. Q1's awful, and Q4 used to be the worst. I feel like if we got together and came up with the solution instead of going with the problem, how could we work quarterly? Now, I know sometimes it doesn't work because they have to get the materials, but I think right now it's very hard to know what's going to happen. Like Molly, I know you're in Atlanta. I'm right outside of DC. So we have dealt with a lot of things as well. And Lindsay might as well. But it's always hard election year. But between that being this close to DC and the riots near me and the protests, things shift so quickly. I have a hard time now even thinking to May, to Mother's Day, much less the fall. So I told Ellen, I thought it would be great for us, even as outside of here, to try to figure out, what do you do? Because they don't have samples to send you. It's too much. Is it a swatch? Do we look at things differently? Because eventually they will go back, but here the schools are not going back. So I'm assuming prom's gone. I'm not sure about summer. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are. If you're only ordering from what you know, tried and true, are you trying smaller brands? What your thoughts are, because a lot of locations shut down.
Just happened.
Mm-hmm.
What just happened? Did you guys?
I heard a train.
I heard a train. That was very strange. Hold on. Let's see. Did we lose her? Nanette.
I'm here.
That was extremely strange. I thought I heard a train whistle.
I don't think it's me. I'm out in the country. I don't think
No, it's like all right, well, it doesn't matter. Luckily, we can edit this. I think this is going to come up in the rest of the conversation, but it's an important dialogue. Let's move on, and maybe we could talk a little bit about this together at the end. I will say one thing. I just got off the phone with another brand on a Zoom call, and I'm used to going to market at this time of year and looking at fall. And also, we highlight spring, we highlight the season as we're doing it, but what we talked about with this brand was the next few months. And she said they're doing it on purpose just because of what you just said. Because why would the specialty stores in the situation they're in want to know what I'm going to sell in October? I get that maybe the big department stores have to do that, but that's not the way the consumer's thinking. So very interesting that you brought that up. Let's move on. Oh, go ahead.
One thing I will mention to you, and I'll probably kick myself later, but everything is shut down. Like our mall's gone. So Nordstrom's is gone. Lord & Taylor's gone. I think it's going to be the opposite effect. And we're all going to be like, oh my God, what do we do? They're all coming to us because they know us. And like I had a line out the door the other day and I was like, oh my God, what do we do? So Ellen, I think those big department stores, they might not be there either. Or
I agree with you 100%, but try to tell that to the big brands who.
No, I'm not going there.
No.
I've already gotten enough trouble.
It's very hard for me to, and I kind of come from that world, so it's, try getting these brand, everybody wants that one giant order. I used to work with Victoria's Secret in another lifetime. It's nice to get a 200,000 piece order in 5 minutes. So, I get it. Okay, so I have to move on. Let's move on and then we'll come back. I think that on my next person on my list is Lindsay Bellefleur. Now, if I get this right, I think I made the dates wrong, Lindsay. I thought you began working there. When did you start working there?
In 2009.
Okay, I put 2012. You became the owner of it 4 years ago. Right?
In 2012. So I think that's like 8 years ago?
Okay, I have it all wrong. Sorry about that.
No,
anyway, I know that you were working there and then you bought it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I do remember that when we spoke the first time, I was very interested in your decision to eliminate brands that produced in China because I couldn't figure out how you were going to make it, especially since you were going to cold turkey it with some of your big brands. Yep. But the initiative seems to have worked because I think it just opened your second store. Am I right? Yeah. And your 2020 sales are up. So congrats.
Thank you.
But I also know, to continue the conversation we just had with Nanette, I also know that you were very frustrated by the lack of access to the market to actually see and touch the brands. So go ahead and add your thoughts to this conversation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it frustrated, but I guess it's, I miss seeing everyone. I miss going to Curb, and I will not buy via Zoom call or photos unless it's a brand that I know really, really well and I have seen those exact products in those exact colors most of the time, or if they have like really, 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 really good photos, maybe a little bit. But right now, it's no new friends, no new brands. It's all the people I know. I'm not experimenting at all. And if the brand won't send me a sample box, they're not going to get an order, unfortunately, because I have to see of fashion. I mean, if it's basics, reorders, I'll do it because I know the product. But for fashion, nothing that I can't physically see. And luckily, I've had a lot of brands send me sample boxes. I have one actually at the store now that I need to go review from, I think it was Obad. And so I am placing future orders just like we normally would, like right now, looking at fall, but it's really a lot less because naturally it's whoever will be willing to work with me with the sample box is who I'll work with. And so it naturally is just like, it's a lot less than what I normally would be placing, which I think is good because it allows us to be flexible in terms of like what we need in the moment. And so I'm just really trying to cover my bases with basics as needed. I also have that second location that we just opened. Although I don't have twice the amount of orders, I have less than my normal one store's worth of orders, spreading it through 2 locations. So it's actually quite a bit less. I'm just really trying to scramble and like place. And when something's a seller, I'll like reorder it again immediately, or I'll like, place a big order with like multiples of the same color size because I know it does well.
So narrow and what I call narrow and deep. That used to be our
a little narrower,
buzzword.
And online that works a little better too because people, just the way people are, online. We do sell online. But I am very much looking forward to being able to go from booth to booth and make my appointments and just see everything and write all the orders right afterward. Because when it's sample boxes, it's like, okay, I got to go to this store, I got to look at this, I got to write the order, and then I go back. It's very much less efficient to do it that way. So I was talking with Ellen on the phone the other day, and I just thought Curb, if they wanted to provide a service, it would be a sample shipping service for the brand. That was my idea. It would be, there's a lot of brands that they maybe have one sample set, or they one extra sample set and they can't get it to everybody. It's a lot of logistics and coordination. And if there was somebody who managed it, that set, kept it together, made sure it was tracked properly and went from store to store, I feel like brands would get a lot more orders because people could touch and feel their fashion products and see the colors and all that. And the brands don't have to worry about.
I did bring that up to a few brands after you and I chatted.
Yeah.
And I got a lot. I got a lot of pushback.
They said no.
No, it's what they say to me, and I know this from my own personal experience, having been in that world too. First of all, it's a great idea that we could send the samples to you with a tag on who to send it to next, you know, the shipping tag. But nobody ever does anything in a timely manner because they're all overwrought with work, and samples tend to get not treated very well by the time. So the second person might not see them as cleanly and beautifully wrapped as the first one. And by the time it gets, so I don't know, we have to think that one through a little better.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
did bring it up to a few brands.
It would have to be managed. It would have to definitely be managed with certain, you know, protocol as far as how you put it back for the next person. You know, it's a new idea, and you know, I get that brands,
like everything, it takes
they want to control the way it gets presented in a box. So, you know, it may not be for everybody, but it was something where I was like, well, it would help people like me and potentially could help some brands that, you know, want their product in the hands of people, but they don't have a show to go to right now. So, but
one question before we move on to Molly. I'm just so curious, who are your key brands since you buy nothing that's made in China?
Yeah, key brands. Yeah. We do, Simone Perel is our main bra brand. And then we do Cosabella, Else. We do a lot of Only Hearts. Hanky Panky. We do some Lee Charmel, some Obad, depending on this season, what they're doing that season.
You mentioned Christine. You do Christine Silks, right?
And we do, you know, some of like the Lee Charmel like brands like Pure and Antigel.
Okay.
And we do Chantel, although we haven't lately. I haven't been able to see their samples. So less.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Lindsay. I'm going on to Molly. I guess Molly, Cynthia's not with you, right?
No, she's not. I'm at my house by myself. She's actually working on a couple of new samples for our maxi and some other things that we've got coming out the pipes. We have a conceal and carry case that's about to launch for women that have been in the uproar of gun purchasing due to last year and then the election. So we have, as you all may or may not know, we are the zany, crazy girls in this lingerie world who, when, you know, had to shut our store for 4 months, said, what the hell are we going to do? We weren't grounded and governed to have to close, but on March 16th, when the college students were sent home and they came to our store before shutdown, I said, I can't do this. I have a special needs child, and I was not comfortable being open and didn't know what to do, even though Georgia, due to our governor not having, you know, any couth about himself, and was in cahoots with other people, didn't necessarily make us close. And we wouldn't have had to, because like Nanette as well, we do mastectomy and we do a lot of surgical garments and things, as well as 90% of our business being bras. So we just really tried to transition. And by the grace of God, and having had some television time, when they came to me and said, we're still going to film, I was filming, I self-filmed. They wanted to do a quarantine special, and clearly, if you all don't know this last journey that I've been on, it was all about my, you know, terrible relationship. But what I managed to do was turn that into being able to speak for myself and saying, during this challenging time, I'm not talking about that. We're going to talk about what's happening right now, what we need to do as a business. And I want to be able to film inside my store us doing virtual fittings and the masks that we were making.
Yeah,
So-
elaborate a little bit on that, Molly, the masks and those virtual fitting showcases, because that was really interesting to hear.
Well, what happened was when they came to me, and I learned so much about self-filming and technology during that time, I had to carry around my phone and film all these different things that I was doing. And I said to them, I personally, emotionally cannot commit to a drama-filled show, but what I can do is allow you to see that we're day and night in our store running 4 old school sewing machines with a team of cutters. My family, my nail tech who had to close came and got fabric and was cutting and bringing it back. So we made a pattern, and we single-handedly, the two of Cynthia and I, sewed about 10,000 masks. And people were asking for custom, and I didn't have a vinyl, I didn't have a press, so we went old school. And we zigzag and top stitch logos with iron transfer and upcharged a little bit. And then we took, just donations of fabric and different things, because we worked really hard to establish relationships in our community and through the web. A lot of people wanted masks, but they didn't know what to do with their quilting fabric or things they had. So they just started sending it to us in droves. So as soon as we would get it, we would just go for it. So we also used lingerie, lace, and different things that we had, because we do a lot of custom work in our store. So we went from custom costuming and sexy harnesses and out of elastic, and used that elastic and made it into the straps, and also used old bias tape. We had yardage beyond measure of bias tape, and so when the elastic ran out, we used it as tiebacks, so people who were complaining about their ears.
So
we
you also
did that.
didn't you do a lot of events, like virtual events, or was that somebody else?
We did. And what I did was I went live in my store. I started out to showcase some of our hand sanitizer that we made, because we're really into like holistic oils and things, and trying to, help our women that come in and tell us about their ailments. So we made hand sanitizer, hot packs, like heated out of lavender and buckwheat, and we made hot packs, and we went live, and we just did it in our uncanny way, QVC HSN style. And then we had like all these snug tanks that we loved. I don't know if any of you all ever carried snug, but it was the best tank ever as a lightweight control. They went out of business and we can't find it, and it was made in the US. But anyway, we had neon yellow and green and orange, and I thought, God, let's throw them on sale and get rid of them. We didn't have to. People that would have never bought hot pink bought all of them, because they were so afraid they wouldn't have any more. So we just started selling it. If it was something that wasn't attached to the wall in our store, it was for sale. and we didn't have to put it on sale, but we started doing that. And then I reached out to, because we do a lot of local events in the past with the full figured fashion community, and said, hey, can we, if I send you a couple things and you a couple things and you a couple things. So all of these girls went live, and some of them were in other states, and did this same type of Zoom meetup and allowed people to come in to watch. And by the time that was over, we were just the sexy stuff that we sent out. We were backlogging trying to get, because it was like, what the heck just happened? A garment that we've been sitting on and never sell on the web, I have like 24 of them sold, and I don't have the product. So we were kind of playing back catch. It was a great idea in theory, but then we didn't realize the lockdown, and that we were going to be having to go to UPS to help them dig through a trailer of boxes to get to ours.
What about, trying to remember what else you told me about. I know it's an initiative that's just happening now, but one of the things your store does that I haven't heard before is this whole, I call it private label, like what we're going to work on together, you and I, on this one product for Valentine's Day. What is the, can you just tell the group a little bit about the custom, not just that you custom fit like and alter things, but you're coming up now with things for your website. Is that the best way of expressing myself?
Yes, I think what happened was we wanted to be able to offer, because clearly we cater we go from 28A up to now a legalist 52O. We have everybody in it. And we thought in the beginning it would be this group, but now we're getting people that are coming out of the woodworks that I've never even had to figure out how I'm going to resource a bra for. It just doesn't exist, basically. So we decided, because we couldn't see some of the products and some of the specialty and some of the sexy, and it was lacking, that we would try to find someone who could produce for us. So obviously our maxi's been made, and there's a couple other pieces, robes. I mean, just the essential room robe that we do in black solid that's long, that doesn't have a ton of sizing. It's an oversized robe, but couldn't get it. And I'm like, why can't I get a marginally priced black robe for my client? People want this. They're at home loungewear. And some of the fabrications, I'm like, that's just not our customer. My client is not the high-end luxury loungewear shopper. That's not who our customer is. And even if it was, the ones who are, or the people who have not been affected by this pandemic, were not spending on the higher end brands. They wanted more bang for their buck. So we just really had to try to figure out, what can we get? And just like some of the other people said, I tried to take on a different brand. Things like you and I talked about, I've never carried Playful Promises in my store. But when I saw 5 different influencers that I follow who are, you know, excellent in their fit, in their style, and how they reach the public, I said, I have to bring a few of these in. It's not a very, it's not a fit bra. It's not a fit sample. It's not a fit model. It's nothing. But what it was in this time is an over the top, not very expensive, knock them in the dirt, sexy brand. And I have never bought a bra with embroidered snakes on it, with strappy stuff and a panty to match. And as soon as I put it on my mannequin up front, 4 days later, there's no more of it, and I can't get it again. But I took a risk. But what I told my customers was, hey, this is not your going to meet your husband's mother for brunch bra. And it may not fit perfect, but because we have our, you know, sewing shop in the back, I was able to take the too long of a piece of lace and just tack it very quickly and make it fit. But it was a risk for me because I had to spend at least this much to get it in. But what I also had to do was bring some of these things in, because some of my core, and I'll just be honest, Alila is a huge brand for us in their lace 2311 and their cheeky panty, because it goes up to a 5X and it's an incredibly stellar panty. But when you can't get it in black and there's no red for Valentine's and you're like, what are we going to do? Then that's when you transition and you find other brands. And, you know, even down to, I emailed Antoinette yesterday because I have a client who every year at Valentine's buys his wife like 5 Empreinte sets. But just like the other ladies, she already has everything that is staple and core, but I can't bring something in if I can't see it sometimes, especially in the higher end brands, because for my client, that's a specialty piece. It's not an everyday. We don't have people who are spending for luxury every day. We have special occasion luxury buyers. But on the other stuff, you know, in the 60 to 90 range, they'll rack up and buy their first investment, get all 7 bras. So it's just been a learning curve, but I've taken a risk. And honestly, when we shut our doors on March 16th and didn't open back up until right about June, I had a lot of peace because we were super busy and I was working harder than ever, but I just had to have peace about it and know that I could find other stores or call the people who have business and say, hey, what are you doing? And I feel like that I have a couple relationships, but the most important one I have is with my reps, my Panache rep, Pamela Sands, who suffered a very hard, tragic fall last year, was on top of it. And they have told me, we don't think this is going to be a go. So because she's honest and forthright, even though she's my rep for the company, my relationship with my reps has been insanely great through this time. And they have worked hard for me and Cynthia and I, it's not just me, our business, to help us maintain.
Thank you, Amali.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I just want to finish up. I want to go on to Trisha because I think her story is very unique. I really enjoyed speaking. Where is she? Is she on the screen? I really enjoyed the conversation we had. You opened your store in November of 2019. First time, first store, maybe 2-3 months before the whole world went crazy. I want you to describe how you navigated an impossible journey, or seemingly so, and still could say to me that even though it's scary, there's no way you're going to ever let it stop you. And I think you and I had a unique conversation about the hole in the market near you and what you recognize. So, Trish, where are you? Are you on there?
I'm right here.
Oh, okay. Can you elaborate a little bit? Because I think this group would find it interesting that, first of all, you didn't come from a background in lingerie. So 2 months in, the world crashed. Go ahead, talk a little bit about that.
So I didn't come from a background in lingerie. I didn't come from a background in retail. I had no experience, period. So this was insane to start with anyways. You know, I'm jumping in full force because I felt like it was something that was needed. We talked about that. There was a hole in the market here. And I spent 2 years planning this, you know, trying to get all of the details just right. And most of it was just convincing myself that I could do this, really, to be honest. And so when I was finally in and no one said no to me, I said, okay, I guess we're doing this. And I was set to open November. I opened the last day of November 2019. And we had a good trajectory. We were having parties. People were hearing about us. We were doing fittings. Everybody was excited that we were here. And it really started in January. And I know January is slow anyways, but it was California, you know, it's a little bit different. And so there's a little bit more, I think we felt a lot of the fear here. And when people started to hear about the virus, and things started getting a little crazy, everybody just kind of stopped. The economy here retracted and we just weren't seeing people come in at all. And of course, I had no idea what to do. No idea. And not that I had any idea what I was doing anyways. And so I almost take this as, it was almost a blessing for me because I feel like I had no expectations to start with, right? You guys had, you know, revenue that you wanted to hit per year, your growth. I had nothing. I had no history to base this off of. I don't have connections with other people to call and say, what are you guys doing? So I just kind of ran with it and did what I could to keep going. We had to shut down because it was a requirement of the government in mid-March, and we were closed for about 2 months, and I just tried to throw everything I could online. I've never wanted to sell bras online personally. That's the reason why I opened a store, is because I don't feel that that's the right way to purchase your bras. I've always been disappointed in it. And I feel a lot of other women have, but I was just doing, like many of you, whatever I could to just get a little bit, you know, continuing, because I was still on the hook for rent. I was still on the hook for everything. So that's kind of where I found myself. And
you might want to mention that you couldn't even get the loan because you weren't in business a full year.
Oh, so I didn't get a whole lot of money. Help was not available to me. Financial help, rather, was not available to me because I had not been in business for 12 months prior to the pandemic shutdowns. And so I applied for everything like crazy. And I did get the PPP, but it wasn't very much because I had 2 employees at the time. So that was all I was able to get, and still continuous through here. I'm still trying to get grants. I'm still trying to get loans, but I come across the same problem every single time. You haven't been in business for 12 months, so I guess I don't matter. So I'm, you know, just doing what I can with my own finances and just continuing to chug along. And luckily, I feel very lucky, number one, that I do have a large amount of inventory for me, but probably nothing close to what you guys had in planning for the coming year. So I was able to kind of keep it low and buy as needed, which I personally like that idea anyways in lingerie and in really anything in general. It's buy what you need. I feel like it helps to reduce waste a little bit. And I don't personally love sales either. I just don't think for me, that's a way that I want to go and continue doing like bargain basement kind of selling. It doesn't make sense to me. I want to sell what's out there because it works, because it makes you feel good, and not because you can get it for $10.
And the brands that you have, that you opened with, are those still the brands that are working with you and helping you, or have you shifted a little?
So I feel like I'm going to be constantly shifting probably the entire time that I'm in business, because I'm always looking, but I do have my brands that I started with and that I absolutely love, because someone else said it, that their reps were everything. And having people to work with you and help you when they're having trouble too is everything. And people that you can talk to and say, you know, I don't want to buy, I can't buy deep in this. So what can you do for me? And they worked with me. So Empreinte is actually one of my favorites. I started with them and I will keep them forever. I absolutely love their fit. Lise Charmel's another one that's actually done really, really well for us. I think we have that clientele who really likes something that's a little bit on the sexier side, but I feel like it's like the classic kind of sexy. So we've been able to sell through a lot of sets like that around here. I also have Chantel is huge. We have one of their bras. I don't know who else carries it, but their Festivité is everybody's favorite bra here. I swear I can't keep it in. I call it the Cadillac of bras. I have names for all of our bras, but people just love it. So, and Cosabella, we definitely have, so we went into pajamas. I don't do loungewear. I went towards pajamas because that's what everybody was living in. That's what I was living in. Even in the store, you'll find me here in pajamas because I love them so much. So that was another avenue that I really kind of dove into. And like everyone else, I wasn't able to see, feel, touch, whatever, and I still went for it. I feel like I took a lot of risks. A lot of it's paid off. People really like what we've brought in here. I try to find things that are unique to the area, but also some heavy hitting names. Just because of brand recognition, people will come in here because they know I have a certain brand.
Okay, thank you, Fish, thanks. Kristen, I think well, before we get off, go back to Kristen, do you guys, or she can come back on, do you guys have any questions for each other? Or did you cover what you wanted? I see
One thing you asked me, Ellen, and that I didn't answer was were the brands that worked well with me during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to mention that because I brought in a lot more sleepwear, which I didn't know that I would sell. And Montel and Linda Hartman were off the chart.
Yeah, you had mentioned that. Yeah.
And as well as I buy Jane Woolrich, which is couture. And, you know, she'll do one piece for me if that's all I need. So, and Anita, of course, is always top, I think, probably for all of us. I mean, I don't know that, but I mean, they're just amazing people. So I just want to mention that.
Well, I'll second that with the brands. If any brands are watching this, like, I just am so grateful for people working with me, and Sarah from Flirt and Montel was really great. And I didn't mention that as one of the brands that we carried earlier, so I wanted to give them a shout out. And also, I'm super inspired by those of you doing the outreach and the community service, especially you, Carla. Like, I just wanted to mention that too, that I've just been in such survival mode with just everything and feeling so like freaked out and working my ass off this past year, harder than I've ever worked. And it's just been even hard to get out of my own head with a small baby and everything, but to hear you saying how much you're reaching out, and also, you know, just the sewing that you're doing, Molly, and everything that you guys have been doing to help different communities is just so inspiring to me. So I hope to get there a little more.
You will. I mean, one step at a time. You know, you can only put one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
So, you know, I live in this, if you never ask, it's a no. And I know all of you think that, but I was very reluctant coming off of a time where my orders were less, but my needs were more, to even go to some of these brands and say, you know what, I want to do charity outreach. I still want to be able to send. And just like Carla said, Montel sent me a huge box of bralettes and little cami tops and underwear for a foundation that we work with here. And we were able to gift and help a lot of much needier people than anybody I've ever worked with this past year. So, and obviously they need that stuff too, probably for end of year tax write-off. But nonetheless, the charitable things that were sent to me, Fitful of Yours as well, which is an incredible, incredible brand for us out of Canada. They sent me a ton of stuff as well. So they, if you ask, they may not have it, but if they do, they were overly generous to less fortunate people.
Right.
For sure.
There was one like hospital outreach we tried to get involved with, but it was the hospitals were like too understaffed and they couldn't even manage like getting anything to them. It was with Bulky, our stockings brand, and it just sort of fizzled out and everybody's just kind of trying to survive.
I think the West Coast, and I am from the New York, Connecticut area, the East Coast, that specific locations in the beginning of the pandemic were trying to just survive. You know, we were like we were huge peak people, and you know, I know because
we were shut
I
down
was there.
For months. We did the whole everything's 30% off, like put it online. I don't know, we have to sell something just to survive. But
Something I did to generate business, and which I'm going to continue doing every year, is a bra donation, a bra drive. I found an organization within my community where the bras were going to stay, and worked with them. And I was able, my first bra drive, which was right after we opened back up after the pandemic, because I could see nobody was coming out. And being on the West Coast, it was very true. We were all in survival mode. And still the ground was just kind of shaking beneath us, basically, because we were going from shutdown to open, shutdown to open. And it didn't matter if it was us being shut down. Every time something was shut down, people would stop shopping. So we did a bra drive, and I offered 40% off of one item in the store for any amount of bras that you could bring, because this amazing organization, they actually set up a street boutique for homeless women. And then they actually moved it to an online boutique. And so all of our bras go there, and women can actually go there and shop for their bras, which I will continue supporting until the end of time, because I think what they do is absolutely amazing. And what I found is many women, I just held on to all of these bras and I had no idea what to do with them. I'm so thankful that you were, that you're out there and you were able to bring these to women who need them. So that's one way, just one thing that we were able to do. Whereas giving a discount was like a thank you to them and kind of tie it to that. But also, and I don't know if any of you guys have thought about this, but I have kids in, my son is in elementary and my daughter's in middle school right now. And one thing I know is that schools are having a really hard time raising money right now because all of their events have been canceled, all of their in-person events. And honestly, when it's not in person and you're not supplying people with alcohol, they don't tend to spend as much. So I did, and in my center, what I kind of worked out with other stores was to have shopping days. And typically it's with the elementary schools because those are the ones who are really involved in the fundraising. And we did really well. I reached out to a bunch of elementary schools. I reached out to friends who I knew were on the foundations, whatever I could. And we still have some that are lined up for later. And basically, instead of giving discounts, we all offered 20% of all of those purchases from the school patrons would go back to the school. And so that's been really successful as well. People like buying when it's attached to something that's going to do good for the community.
We did a donation day as well at some point during this crazy year we've had, or last year we did, all profits from this day are going to go to this charity. So
was it successful?
It was. It actually was a pretty busy day at the shop that day, and people came in, and it was right after we reopened, people came in and they were like, I'm here, it's donation day. They were ready. So it was, yeah, that was good. So but yeah, it's something that I think it's good to just keep talking about with everybody. And very inspiring what you're doing too, Michelle.
I love all the ideas. I was taking notes while all of you were talking, and I also want to say I always love lingerie stores. The names of your stores are always amazing, and it always makes me smile.
I got to tell you, I'm really so thrilled that you guys joined me in this conversation. I feel like I've met you all personally. I feel like Molly and I are already working on an initiative together. It's terrific. And I want to thank you all very much. And feel free to get in touch with me. We're happy to help. Our mission is to help you guys specifically. That's why I started this. So 11, 12 years ago. So the specialty stores are like the most important thing to us. So please, if you have any interesting things going on, let me know. We're working with another store and some other initiative they have. It's great because the community gets to hear other people's ideas. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank